Góðan daginn og velkomin í Silfur Egils. Við erum með Eva Jolie settin hjá okkur. En Eva Jolie hérna hjá okkur og það spurðist út núna í vikunni að hún væri að hætta á Íslandi. Hætta þessari ráðgjöf sem hún hefur veitt sérstökum saksóknara. Hún að fara beinlínis í forsetaframboð í Frakklandi auk þess sem hún situr á Evrópuþinginu og mjög upptekin þar. Velkom, Eva Jolie.
Thank you for that.
Well, this is not the first time we've been here.
No.
We did this interview, 1.5 years ago,
yes.
which led to you becoming the advisor to the special prosecutor.
Absolutely.
But now you are leaving, and I think people in Iceland are saddened by this, and I think that many people actually feel quite shocked because for them you have been a sort of a guarantee that things were done in good faith and with maximum trust.
Yes, but I think it's also easy to understand that this contract was set up for a certain time and it has come nearly to an end, and also because my life is going on and I do not have time anymore to come to Iceland for 4 days a month because I have huge projects in France. But what I can say is that now we have a very beautiful instrument here to do the inquiry. It is set up. They are now 60 people. They will be 90 by the end of the year. They are young. They are very energetic, very eager to do this investigation. And I'm very confident that this collective intelligence will cope with the problem.
So you have faith in the body you have put up in Iceland?
Yes, I have. And I think that there are still huge challenges, but I think they will cope with it, and also that they will continue the cooperation they have obtained already from the other Nordic countries, from the UK, from Luxembourg, and I know that they will seek cooperation also with other countries abroad. And I wanted to say that I will always be there for them, and that we will do things together, and I think also that I will find another person to guide them further.
So they can call you?
They can call me.
Yes.
They have my mail address, and I'm really there for them. It's not a joke.
How is this? Could you explain to me how this is structured? The office of the investigator.
Yes. You remember when we talked together the first time?
Yes.
There were 3 people in a very small premises.
Yeah.
And today then they are 60. They are divided, and we have 3 new prosecutors that are heading the investigation. There is 1 prosecutor for each bank, and there are between 15 and 16 people making the inquiry into each bank. And then you also have some horizontal work being done. So I think this is very good. And we are paying attention to the fact that it should be a balance in the cases between the banks and the cases that are brought to court. So I think this is very, very well done. And I should wish your camera came to show to the public how beautifully, how very well they are installed in their premises, and also to see these young, beautiful, eager people.
So there's energy there.
Yes, it's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And this is really, we should thank the special prosecutor for having had the intelligence to set up the team this way.
I know you haven't always agreed with Ólafur Högnason.
No, we do not agree the whole time, but this is normal. And we still have tensions sometimes because we do not share exactly the same way of saying things. But they are underway. And I think that today they are able to cope with this investigation. And I also wanted to say that what you have done here in Iceland is unique. This inquiry is not being done anywhere else. I think the problem is exactly the same in the UK or in the US or in Germany.
Yes.
But they are not looking into their banks. They are not looking for the responsibility. People are getting away with their ill-earned money.
So you think that we are doing this in exemplary fashion?
Yes, and I think, especially in this country, so hardly stricken by the crisis, and it costs so much to so many, to have dedicated the means to this inquiry and to set up a team of this strength, meaning really that there is political will to do the work. They are the same number here in Iceland today as the Brigade Financière in Paris.
Okay. Are the investigation, are they working with foreigners, with people you have brought into the...
And also the very good news is that the foreign experts that I brought with me, the Norwegian Helge Berg and the French Jean-Michel Matt, they are now delivering their expertises. And this is wonderful basis for the rest of the work to be done.
But people feel that this is getting a bit long-winded. There are no...
Yes.
When will we see some results,
this is
prosecutions, convictions? And you said it in the beginning that people would get impatient and that even they would lose faith sometime during the process.
Yes, exactly. And this is really the difficulty between the legitimate suffering and ask and request for justice of the public opinion and the legal time needed, because inquiries are slow. It takes time, and we are dependent on getting documentation from Luxembourg or the UK, and we do not master that. You see, in the Kaupting case, we are waiting for these documents to go further.
From Luxembourg?
And from England.
And you're not getting the information you want?
Well, they are working on it, but well, they have their proceedings, and we do not master them. And this is the same all over the world. In the Elf case, I waited 3 or 4 years to get documentation from Switzerland.
But will there be instances where you will not get the information you want?
That could be also, but that is not the case here, because we have seen the documentation, we are only waiting for it to be sent over. It will come, but what I want to communicate is that it takes time, and you must trust your own good young people working on this case. Yes.
So even if this takes time, and even if the newspapers get impatient and the bloggers get impatient, we have to...
you have to realize that this must be done by the book, and that you cannot move quicker than the music. And it takes time, and the media time is not the same time as the legal time in an inquiry. But results will come. There are one case in court, that is the Birk case today, and you have noticed that the court did allow a 3-month delay to the defense. So I think it's also important for the public to understand that this is independent of the prosecution. And maybe also it should be a reflection on, is it normal to give a 3-month delay for one paper? I mean, maybe this could be done a little quicker.
Yes.
Because we cannot have that each request from the defense will generate 3 more months of delay.
But of course they will try to, and this is the normal, we saw that in the Berks affair, which one often reflects on that.
Yes, I know it very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one often see that the culprits, they will try to stall at every instance in the system.
And then they will become very ill. That is also normal.
Or as in New York, they will lose their knowledge of English.
Yes, so something will happen to them.
Yes.
Yes.
But so you think this will also be
their
the case?
game is to earn time.
Yes.
Because they are counting upon the impatience of the public opinion.
Yeah.
So what is important now is to support this team. It is more important for you than the football. Huh? It should have the same support.
Yes.
And it is important that they will have continuous funding.
And one of instance in the Birk case, the Exeter case, is that it might be invalid because of you. Well,
I think that is a very bad argument, but normal that the defense lawyer put it forward. But why should it be invalid? I mean, I'm an expert, I have a contract, there is legal provisions in the law on the special prosecutor allowing him to have experts, so I think there is not a problem, and I'm confident that the court will not rule that way.
Do you still think there was criminality involved in the fall of the banks, in what they were doing, the banks, and in the fall of the banks?
I know it.
You know it.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, if I did that, then the defense lawyer would say that, I would jeopardize the investigation.
Yes.
But I think, it's like when you see a body with a knife in the back.
Yes.
You can say here it has been a murder without saying anything about who did it. And today we can say that here we have had a lot of economic criminality, that is sure, and we are investigating it to put names behind every action.
So the investigation has not changed your view on this?
No,
You have not,
it has reinforced my first knowledge, and so I think that the Icelandic people can be confident that each and everybody will be responsible for what they have done, and they will be tried for it.
But we also have to think about the judges, the judicial system, which is, I think, everybody basically agrees that it's very weak in Iceland in many ways. There are not too many judges, and the courts seem to be overwhelmed.
Yes.
And also we saw from the Bauer case that the courts really
didn't understand.
And this is something you will talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, sure that we cannot take care only of the prosecution and the inquiry. This is the first stage. We need also to take care of the court system, and we need the judges to be numerous enough, and maybe also you should think about setting up specialized chambers to deal with economic crimes, because some judges are allergic to figures, and they should not be allowed to judge these cases.
Yes.
So there should be some skill, some economic skill among the judges that will have these cases.
Yes.
So I think the ministry will work on that. So the whole chain up to the Supreme Court should be able to cope with these cases.
Yes. No. Well, we saw in the Bauer case that it was really the courts were almost incapable of handling that. Well,
but I think that things have changed dramatically since then. And my theory is that judges are not living in out of society.
No.
They are part of it. And I think that there is now a will to understand. And I think at the time of the Berger case, the head of the banks were heroes, and they didn't feel like convicting. Today, maybe this sentiment has changed, and this is part of the game.
But to come back to you, I think that many people will tend to lose confidence in what is going on when you are leaving, because you have been a figure of. I don't want to flatter you too much, but you have become a figure of moral authority in Iceland in a period where we lack people who have moral authority.
Well, I'm happy that I have been able to contribute to people having confidence in the system, but I think that they should see that today it is built up, and they should trust their own people. I mean, these 60 young energetic Icelandic lawyers and investigators that are there, they are ding of confidence, and they still have the experts, they still have foreigners, and I think, in a way, I do believe that they could carry it out alone today. But I think it is important because of your society and this very close link that I see every day between the institutions.
Yes.
And for the public trust, it is important to have the foreign regard with you.
Yes.
So I will recommend to Ólafur and to you and to the others maybe to still work with maybe foreign experts, foreign technical experts.
You have become involved in some courses in Iceland.
Yes.
While you were here, of course, you started you did some work on IceSave. You wrote articles about IceSave.
Yes.
And now you are involved with Björk.
Yes.
And different people with the Magma affair.
Yes.
And you are vehemently opposed to this Magma deal, I think.
Yes, I hope that we will be able to explain that this is a stupid thing for Iceland to do. And my part of it is to tell that the European regulation do not ask for this. There is not such a thing as an obligation to privatize the energy sector. There were exceptions foreseen in the law for countries like Iceland.
Yes.
So and you are not obliged to accept a company that is using a Swedish company in order to get impasse in Iceland. And I think this is very important.
Yeah.
This project was set up by the same people who privatized your banking system, who made it a bubble that ruined people. And why should you continue by privatizing your energy sector with exactly the same people for exactly the same reasons? But the public interest is not in the center. This should be stopped.
Yes. But you say, and this is an important point, that this is not something that Europe dictates.
For. No, not at all. And looking to the contract, I'm really shocked. You're giving your geothermal rights away to a Canadian company which have no experience really in geothermy. You are not even ensured that they can do the investments, and you are selling it with a kind of bullet loan, exactly like the banks did. You are not even being paid for in dollars today. So this is bad business, isn't it?
Yes. And there you have, because I have to mention that when I first contacted you, you had two demands. You wanted to meet Björk and you wanted to meet Vigdís.
Yes.
I could deliver Vigdís very early on. Well, we met Vigdís.
Yes.
And but you didn't meet Björk until much later.
No, but I think it was wonderful. But she contacted me, and so we had really common views on how to protect the Icelandic natural resources and how to try to prevent the privatization of these natural resources, making a new bubble, making new millionaires to the detriment of the people.
Yes. And so you have had discussions with Björk.
And this I couldn't do as long as I wasn't an advisor to the special prosecutor. But as from now on, I'm not anymore, then I can also speak up about the Magma case.
Yes. What about, of course, you have become quite knowledgeable about Icelandic society, and I think one of the main things that is getting us in this bad way is the total lack of trust in Iceland. And you saw this in the demonstration of last week, when thousands of people were actually throwing eggs and stones and milk at the parliament.
Yes, but this is very often happening in countries where the monetary fund are doing the restriction. So maybe it's time also to hear the needs of people and to slow down a little bit on the rhythm by which you will go to zero deficit. It's a little too soon to ask for it for 2013.
Yes.
This cannot be done. And when you look to the OECD figures of the OECD countries' total indebtedness in public debt and in private debt, Iceland is like on a map. You are the most indebted country among the OECD countries when you totalize this debt. And I think there is no way that you can take all this debt along.
So you think that it will have to be written off?
Yes, some of it, I think.
Yes. So you think we are in the IMF program is too tight?
I think it's too tight.
And do you think that we should kick the IMF out, or?
Well, I think you need funding also. So it's between. It's realpolitik, and you have to listen to the needs of people, and you have to comply also with some of the requirements, but you should maybe have more time. I think what is important for the market is to see that you are going in the right direction, getting the deficit down, but you can master the time. You do not need to comply with the time. And then in international negotiations, maybe we should start from the situation where you are. The interesting thing today is not to know why it is like this. It is like this. And we want Iceland to be there with Icelanders in it. And we want you to stay a wonderful nation with your geopolitical importance. And we don't want you to have conditions that might make the Icelanders leave.
But I think many people, they are seeing the banks being restructured while the household debt is...
Yes, this is a choice. This is a monetary fund choice.
Yes.
And I mean, it isn't necessary like that.
Well, the banks, yeah.
Yes.
Giving new life to the banks, that would done.
And I think there is a term in between.
Yeah.
Yes. And solutions should be found to allow people to stay in their homes. Nobody is served by the fact that their houses are staying empty, and then you will get, when the middle class is getting lost, when the middle class starting loses their homes, and that was exactly what happened in Argentina, and what risks to happen in Spain. This is really a political issue, and here we need political will.
Yes. But I think it's an impossible situation when people think it's
difficult.
normal to go out on the streets and throw things at the parliament. In Icelandic history, this is, of course, quite unique.
Yes, but also because, like in nearly all the Western countries, people had lost interest in politics.
Yes.
And I think the wonderful thing here is that people are taking politics back again.
But what about Europe? You are an MEP, a member of the European Parliament, and you are in Brussels, and next week I think you will be in Strasbourg with the Parliament. And I know you are quite engaged in the Parliament. You came there at a late age, but you won a beautiful victory in France, your party, with Daniel Cohn-Bendit. And do you think that Iceland should actually join the European Union?
Yes, I think. I think this is your place. It is among us in Europe. You would be a very valuable partner with your long democratic traditions, with your resources, with your know-how. And you are part of Europe. And you are already implementing all the European rules, but without having influence on them. And you must know that the European rules have special adaptation for small countries like yours. So I think you could be part of Europe, you could influence the politics, you could come along with other Nordic countries. And my hope is that if you join in, Norway would come after.
But people are afraid that Europe wants to take over our resources, our fishing resources, our energy resources.
Well, this is a myth. This is a myth. The truth is that you can negotiate the agreement, and as you don't have neighbor countries around, I think that you can have very good conditions for your fish. And no, it is also a political union. And I mean, you need Europe now. I mean, you need it for the money, and you have been deemed compatible. The European Commission has said that you have fulfilled the requirements because of your institutions that are well working, and so I think there is an opportunity now for you to become a member.
So you don't think that many people also are afraid of that Iceland is very small and Europe is very big, that it would just swallow up Europe and that we will have absolutely no say in our own affairs?
No, that is not true, because you would have a commissioner and you would have parliamentary members, and I don't know how many deputies you will have, but you would join the group, a group of Greens or of Conservatives or Social Democrats, and exert your influence in this group. And what I can testify is that the Greens, and we are a very small group, we have a lot of influence within the European Parliament because our ideas are good and because we have clever people. And so I think that the influence is not only due to the number, and also to take into account that you are already applying all the European rules. So what you will win is the possibility to influence them.
Do you feel that you have influence as a member of the European Parliament?
Yeah.
This is an institution that sometimes has been ridiculed, and people say that...
It is not.
You know,
It is a very democratic institution, and I'm admiring the way it is working. It's really very well functioning, and Europe as such is not either conservative or radical, or it is like the member states are, and as the color of the MPs.
Yes.
So, and we are an institution that is adapting in a constant matter. It is not a finished institution. And I see from the energy rules, from they were set up, the different packages, the last time in 2003, it is also an institution under high development. And we are starting taking into account the need to have sustainable energy and to take care of the environment. We are not yet there, but we are struggling for it, and we need you, with your strong people, to come and help us.
So do you find idealism there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do find a lot of very competent people that do have a vision for our common future. And we have to understand that Iceland will have no influence of the common future of the world, only from here. But being a member of the European Union, Europe as such, we can have an influence. We are still a weak institution, but we are improving every day.
But I think, well, we had a wake-up call in 2008. In Iceland, it was more than a wake-up call. We were just punched in the face. But it seems that nobody is taking notice anymore. That there was a financial crisis, and everybody said, now we will reform the way capitalism works, the institutions. But now everywhere people seem to be rather back to the same old ways.
Isn't that terrible?
Yes, it is.
Yes, and we are constructing new bubbles. This time it is on commodities, even on agriculture commodities.
Yes, basic needs.
Basic needs are object of speculation, and this must be stopped. This must come to an end. We, the ecologists, we are working for that, and we will need your support. We have been working on new financial regulations within EU, and all the radical new ideas were from the Greens.
Yes.
I'm afraid that there is a compromise to be signed today. I'm afraid that we are not winning it.
No.
Because of the very conservative forces that are out there, because England has a huge financial industry.
Yes.
They do not want to lose influence or money from this industry, and this industry is not the friend of people.
England is an offshore haven.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have to do something about it, but we have to do it together.
Yes. To end, I would like to speak about the French presidential election. It is clear now that you will be running.
What is clear is that I'm a candidate to become the candidate for the Greens.
Yes. But you seem to be doing rather well in the French media and in the French with the French people.
Well, people are kind to me yet because I'm still very small.
Yes.
Yes. But you know, I will make, if I am the one chosen, I will make this campaign very collective. I see myself as a spokesperson for the political ecological ideas.
Yes.
I'm inheriting 30 or 40 years of knowledge, and so it's not only a personal struggle. I mean, it's a collective game.
But President Sarkozy is having problems, and now he's even throwing out the Roma people, and he's sort of dabbling with the far right, and then the other candidate of the socialist, he's like the figurehead of international capitalism, Dominic Strauss-Kahn, the chairman of the International Monetary Fund. I have criticized him often because he hasn't had the decency to come here to speak to the Icelandic people, which I think he should in person, because he's very involved in the French elections, becoming president of France. But these are the other candidates.
Well, that is the choice of the socialists, and that is their problem. So I don't know whom they will choose.
Yes.
But it will be a very open election, and I think that people are really hoping for something new to happen. And the time has come for us to realize that we cannot go on with the dream of an eternal growth in economy, and this growth will settle our problems, because there will be no growth anymore. It cannot be. And we have to go over to sustainability, and we must create more justice now with the world like it is. And that means inside our countries and between the North and South.
But this is a big voyage in a lifetime. You being born the daughter of a Norwegian tailor.
Yes.
In Grünerløkka, or
yes, Grünerløkka,
which is not a rich neighborhood of Oslo, and going to Paris as an au pair, marrying into a very bourgeois family, and then becoming running for president of France. That is something you wouldn't think of.
This is also why I accepted the request of my friends, because I thought it was kind of unbelievable story.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people can recognize themselves in this story. And I think if the society is so open that it is possible to be a foreigner, to have been doing your studies in the country, to become a judge, this was already quite unusual.
Yes.
I'm not sure that it would be possible in Iceland. So I think this is also the good side of France.
Yes, the acceptance,
yes. The acceptance, l'accueil,
yeah.
the integration.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also a beautiful picture of France, isn't it?
Yes. So, but while you're at it, I hope you will think fondly of us in Iceland, and maybe come and visit us sometimes.
And I will come. I promised my substitute here, Jon Torrisson, without whom not anything would have been possible, that I will come up twice a year.
Okay, thank you, Eva Joly.
You.
Thank you for your time.